Back here, first things first, we are going viral. So the Steelers took down the Patriots 17-10 yesterday, and it was surprising to see Pittsburgh so hungry for a win based on their pregame meal, with Juju Smith-Schuster getting a hot dog at Heinz Field tailgate. What do you think, C? Hot dog before the game, ideally a good idea?
Man, Juju be doing a lot of stuff, too. He be trying too hard, man. It's game day. I ain't got no time to be fooling around with people. I'm definitely not eating no hot dog before. No, I got a job to do. Like, what's that got to do with trying to win the game?
4:30 kickoff. What's your pregame meal? Not the 1 p.m. kickoff, the 4:30
I'm going to have either pancakes and or oatmeal, egg whites, coffee. Need some creamer in it. Can't have it all black and bitter and everything. No, got to have it flavored up a little bit. But that's typically it. That's it. Day game, morning game, night game, eat the same thing, perform the same way. And I'm not mingling with the people before.
Pancakes.
He's a man of the people.
Stories to start your morning, sponsored by Gillette Clear Gel. Saturday, Deshaun Watson and the Texans picked up their 10th win of the season. They beat the Jets. DeAndre Hopkins went off with 10 catches, $170, 2 touchdowns. Nick, how impressive were the Texans on Saturday?
Not that impressive, but they got the win. They needed the win. They would have been kicking themselves had they lost this game. Then seeing the Patriots lose, they would have squandered a chance for. Right now, they're on pace for the first bye in the history of the franchise. But Nuke and Deshaun Watson were excellent. J.J. Watt was excellent. The running game was non-existent, and that's something to watch with them. The offensive line struggled in this game, but they escaped. The Jets had a few times in this game where I'm like, oh, Sam Darnold might get the best win of his career. Wasn't to be.
Yeah, Nuke played tremendous. Great catches when they needed it. J.J. Watt was almost unstoppable. I would like to see Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, and Clowney, because Clowney was amazing, especially against the run. I'd like to see them in the playoff stage, give them a bye. They're a dangerous football team.
All right, moving on to the Ravens. They beat the Bucs in a rainy game where, once again, Lamar Jackson was the story. Lamar passed for 131 yards and added another 95 on the ground. Baltimore's 4-1 since Lamar Jackson took over as the starter. Also, we should mention that the Ravens will reportedly move on from Joe Flacco this offseason. See, what'd you make of Lamar's day yesterday?
It's not my type of game. I mean, as a wide receiver, I would hate it. But this is the only choice. When you draft him, the last pick in the first round, you expect him to start his rookie year. He's doing that. You expect him to change the offense up and run a style that he can be productive at. Because it's the only style. He cannot throw the ball from the pocket. He's not comfortable. I saw him the first game in the Hall of Fame game, and he looked very, very green. He's still very, very green as a passing quarterback.
I will give the Ravens and Lamar credit for, despite having such a constricted passing attack, they've won 4 of 5. Now, they've been fortunate. The 5 games they've played have been literally against the 5 worst defenses in football. That will be different this coming week against the Chargers. But the Ravens' season appeared to be over when they went to Lamar, when Flacco got nicked. Right now, as it ends, if it were to end today, they'd be in the playoffs.
All right, on to Sunday Night Football, where Jared Goff struggled once again. Over the past 2 weeks, Goff has thrown 6 interceptions. For comparison, the first 12 games of the season, he threw just 7 picks. Oh, and the Rams fell to Nick Foles and the Eagles last night. See, what's going on with Jared Goff?
A number of things. The NFL starting to figure him and their system out. When they can't run the ball and they don't have that two-way where they run it, then the play action, their offense is easier to figure out. Cooper Kupp, they miss him as a slot receiver to be able to move those chains. And, Nick, you mentioned before, Jared Goff. What was some of the things I was worried about him coming into the draft? What about when people get on top of him, when people get close to him? You know, to me, he ain't the most physical guy. And you could see last night when the Eagles got close to him, he was not comfortable throwing the ball.
And you saw that. And last year, as good as his numbers were, and this year, as good as his numbers has been prior to these past 2 weeks, he's never been great with the deep ball. One of the reasons I had more hope than I should have with Sammy Watkins going to Kansas City was Goff could never connect with him on the deep ball. So there's holes in the game. And the other thing we're seeing, Sean McVay, is excellent of a coach as he is, and I believe he is an excellent coach only 2 years into his tenure. He got a little bit of a look on his face like, wait, what the hell has happened to my beloved offense? When Todd Gurley is not dominating the game, that offense is solvable. It didn't look solvable the first couple months of the season.
All right, entering Week 15, the Vikings offense was 20th in points per game. They made a change at offensive coordinator and then proceeded to put up 41 points on the Miami Dolphins. Dalvin Cook rushed for a career-high 136 yards, while Kirk Cousins tossed 2 touchdowns. All right, CeCe, what were your first impressions of the Vikings offense with their new offensive coordinator?
It's pretty simple. They fired the last guy for not running the ball. So what are they going to do?
Run the ball.
Anyone with a brain would know that they're going to run the ball. They were far more physical. It took advantage. The hometown crowd was into this game. They made a few plays at the beginning. Now, Kirk Cousins tried to let the Dolphins back into the game, but their ability to be able to run the football, which opened up their play-action pass, their defense played excellent, absent of 1 or 2 plays there. This is the type of Vikings team that we thought that they had before the season. This time, Dalvin Cook, I thought this was one of the better games that he's had in a short career.
This was, going into this game, they were passing the ball literally 2 out of every 3 plays. This game, they ran the ball literally 2 out of every 3 plays. I mean, they totally flipped it. Dalvin Cook is an excellent player. Like, that was the thing that made so little sense about what they were doing before.
They weren't using him.
Some teams are throw the ball out of necessity. The Vikings, to me, weren't that type of team. Dalvin Cook, I thought it was a huge loss for them last year when he got hurt. I was impressed they were able to overcome that to make it as far as they did, but they got him back and they weren't using him. He was great. The defense played, I thought, a tremendous game. The defense played, you look at, see, they gave up 17 points. Well, one was on a pick 6, right? The Kirk Cousins, Minka Fitzpatrick. And the other one, the backup running back for the Dolphins, hit him for a 75-yard touchdown run. Aside from that, the defense played extraordinary. And throughout the game, I mean, they had 9 sacks. Like, 9 sacks, you're going to win the football game. Tannehill was a mess the entirety of the game. This should be the script. You didn't get Kirk Cousins because you needed a savior at quarterback. You got Kirk Cousins because you needed a guy in the biggest games. Could he make a few throws? Now, in the biggest games, we'll see if he can. But we know he's got a better arm than Case Keenum. This is the style they should have been playing, I think, all along. Maybe not this big of a discrepancy, 2 out of 3 running, but it should have never been 2 out of 3 passing.
So the discrepancy is what surprised me a little bit. Is the only thing this Vikings team needed was to get John DeFilippo out of Minnesota? I mean, it seemed like they did everything, for the most part, better than they had been doing.
Well, they don't have a good offensive line, so you got to build support the offensive line. No quarterback is going to thrive under trying to throw the ball 45 times a game. They needed some type of balance. It's not just about the coordinator, it's about a philosophy. Does the philosophy fit with the team? This should be a defensive dominated team. They have very good special teams. Now they have a good kicker, and this offense should be able to complement what they're doing in the other phases of the game.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about that big showdown in the NFC North. Packers and Bears will pick this one up in the 4th quarter tie game. Mitch Trubisky finds Trey Burton for the nice touchdown to put the Bears up 21-14. Fast forward 3 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Aaron Rodgers driving the pack down the field. Rodgers picked off by Eddie Jackson to seal the game. Rodgers' first interception in a record 402 consecutive pass attempts. And the Green Bay Packers are officially eliminated from the playoffs while the Chicago Bears pick up their first division title since 2010. Bears have now won 7 of their last 8 games. All right, CeCe, this Bear team, this defense-dominated Chicago Bears team, can they make a Super Bowl run with their style of play?
Now, of course they can. Of course they can. They match up well. If you look at the top offenses in the NFC, you'll be talking about the Rams and the Saints. All right, they've already played the Rams, and the Saints, to me, are leaking oil. Their offensive line hadn't been as good. Their running game hasn't been as dominant as people think. And since, they lost someone like Teddy Ginn, who do they go to if Michael Thomas happens to have a slow game? So there are ways that I believe that you can solve the riddles in the New Orleans Saints. I don't think people have looked at their overall numbers. People just look at the Saints and say, man, their offense is explosive. Yeah, but just check it out. Check the numbers out, and especially the last couple of weeks, teams are starting to be able to solve some of those questions. So, yes, when you're a dominant defensive team, yes, you can. When you run the ball, with the variations of either giving it to Cohen, running between the tackles, which they can do there in Chicago, and their quarterback make a few throws, yeah, you can, because there's no dominant teams in the NFL, in the AFC or in the NFC. So, yes, the Bears can be a Super Bowl contender.
If the Bears aren't a contender, then I would just, anyone that's saying, no, they can't, then I just ask you, who is? What do we got? 2 teams? Like, was it 3 teams? The Bears are without question, one of the 6 best teams in football. And without question, one of the 3 best teams in their conference. One of the 2 teams most people would have ahead of them, the Rams, they beat the hell out of them a week ago. So, and their defense has been so good, it has enhanced their offense. I think it's surprised people. They've got a top 8 scoring offense this year. Why? Well, a lot of that's because defensive takeaways, short fields, defensive touchdowns. Like Eddie Jackson, who hurt himself at the end of last game, looked like, I think was diagnosed a high ankle sprain. We'll see when he comes back from that. But when you have a defense this good, you don't need the quarterback to play great. What we're seeing, I don't think the Saints have many paths to victory if Drew Brees plays poorly. I know the Chiefs have none if Pat Mahomes plays poorly. The Chargers don't have many if Phillip Rivers plays poorly. The Bears have won half their games this year with Trubisky playing average, or he was awful last Sunday. Now, this past Sunday, yesterday, I thought he was quite good. He's had what I would consider 4, maybe 5 excellent games this season. So they also, by the way, because of what happened with the Eagles upsetting the Rams, they're a half game out of getting a bye. Like, everything's in front of the Bears. Are they the favorites in the NFC? No. But can they make the Super Bowl? Yes. And if their quarterback plays well, are they as good as any team in football? I believe so.
How good is this Bears defense? Is it Ravens good? Is it Broncos good? Because I think...
No, they still have some holes. They still have some holes in their defense. They still have some. You can still get after their secondary. You can still throw the ball on their corners. So they've been able to, because of the pass rush and because of the turnovers, like if you get into a game where they don't get an extra 2 possessions, then what does the offense do? So this is a good Bears defense. But as far as in NFL, historic defenses that have led to Super Bowls, the numbers wouldn't indicate that the Bears are that good.
I don't think they are as good as the best defenses we've seen over the last 30 years.
Those are the only ones that have won the Super Bowl. That's why I pointed those defenses out.
No, fair enough. But I also think this offense is far better than the Ravens offense was. I think it's better than the Bucs offense was. I'm not sure if it's better than the Broncos offense was, just because that offense.
I'm gonna tell you that their offense might be marginally a little bit better, but you don't trust their quarterback more than you trusted those other quarterbacks with what they wanted to do. All right, because it's not as if they're just going to run the ball 50 times a game. His decision making and the RPOs and the other things that Coach Nagy has him doing, it puts his judgment at stake during the game. It's not just his passing, his inconsistency, his judgment, because they do so many things that the quarterbacks got to be able to make adjustments on the run. That's why his overall decision making is a huge part to how far the Bears can go.
And they obviously, like, there's no question about it. When we're talking about a team making a Super Bowl, it is very difficult to drag a quarterback to the Super Bowl. But they don't, to me, have to have the defense of the Ray Lewis Ravens or the Warren Sapp Bucks. They have the best defense in 2018. I think there's some other very good defenses. I think the Bears are clearly better than Baltimore's defense, clearly better than Dallas's defense, because they are not only suffocating teams as far as yardage and points, but they are forcing so many more turnovers than any other team in football. Like, that is, I think this Bears team, they'd be an underdog if they had to go to New Orleans in an NFC Championship game, but they wouldn't be drawn dead. We saw them, what they did against a Rams team that went toe-to-toe with New Orleans in the Superdome.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up,